Does astrology have an influence on our lives and decisions, or is it just a figment of our imagination? A question as old as the stars themselves. And yet, it continues to captivate our curiosity. Astrology, the ancient practice of divining information about human affairs and terrestrial events through the study of celestial bodies, has been a topic of intense debate for centuries. On one side of the spectrum, we have the believers, those who perceive astrology as an insightful tool, a compass guiding them through the labyrinth of life. They find solace in the idea that the alignment of the stars and planets at their birth can influence their personality traits, romantic compatibility, and even their destiny. On the other side, there are the skeptics who view astrology as nothing more than a pseudoscience, a system of beliefs with no empirical evidence to back it. They argue that any perceived accuracy is merely the result of the Barnum effect, where people believe that vague and general statements apply specifically to them. But what if the lines between these perspectives blurred? What if a person's belief in astrology led them down a path so dark it resulted in a tragedy? What if the stars could foretell not just our fortunes, but also our misfortunes? Today we delve into a chilling story that might make you rethink your stance on astrology. A tale of an astrologer, a prophecy, and a series of events that unfolded under the shadow of a solar eclipse. A narrative that will compel you to question, can astrology really dictate our actions and decisions? Or is it simply a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and desires? Only time and the stars can tell. Meet Danielle Johnson, an astrology influencer with a following of over 100,000 people. Known as Ayoka on social media, Danielle painted a picture of herself as a mystic, a guide, and a divine healer. Her online presence was a mesmerizing mix of astrological predictions, conspiracy theories, and positive affirmations. She had the uncanny ability to weave together the cosmic and the everyday, capturing the imaginations of her avid followers. She was a beacon of spiritual enlightenment in a world that seemed increasingly chaotic. Her words, her predictions, her affirmations, they all resonated with her followers, creating a community that looked to her for guidance, for wisdom, for a sense of calm amidst the storm. But behind this facade of mysticism and wisdom lurked a darkness that no one saw coming. Days before the solar eclipse, Johnson's social media posts took a dark turn. Known for her astrological predictions and positive affirmations, Danielle Johnson began to express a deep-seated fear and anxiety. The imminent solar eclipse, a natural phenomenon often associated with change and transformation, had become a source of dread for her. In one of her posts, Johnson referred to the eclipse as the epitome of spiritual warfare. These words paint a picture of a battle between unseen forces, a struggle not just of celestial bodies, but of the soul. She urged her followers to get your protection on and your heart in the right place, a plea that was both cryptic and chilling. In the days leading up to the eclipse, Johnson's posts grew increasingly ominous. She spoke of the world changing, of needing to pick a side, of a time to do right in your life. This urgency, this call to action, was laced with an undertone of impending doom. And then came the post that would send chills down the spine of anyone looking back on it. Johnson referred to the upcoming eclipse as the apocalypse. She claimed that more deaths happen during eclipses, a statement that, while not supported by any scientific evidence, was a clear indication of her escalating fear. It was obvious that Johnson was deeply troubled by the impending eclipse, viewing it not as a fascinating celestial event, but as a harbinger of disaster. Her posts, once a mix of astrological insights and uplifting messages, had become a litany of dread and foreboding. Little did anyone know, these ominous posts were a prelude to a horrifying series of events. On the day of the solar eclipse, April 8, 2024, a chilling sequence of events unfolded in Woodland Hills, California. The early morning hours were punctuated by loud arguments emanating from Danielle Johnson's apartment. Neighbors could hear the escalating tension, but no one could have predicted the horror that was about to unfold. As the night wore on into the early hours of the morning, the disturbances ceased, leaving an eerie silence that belied the violence that had taken place within those walls. When dawn broke, a neighbor drawn by curiosity and concern ventured into the apartment through an open back door. A trail of blood led them to a horrific discovery. Jalen Allen Chaney, Johnson's long-term boyfriend, was dead in the kitchen. The scene was gruesome, with signs of a struggle and a fatal stabbing. But the macabre scene did not end there. The morning was further marred by two separate incidents, both equally tragic. On Interstate 405, a baby girl, not yet 9 months old, was found fatally struck. Nearby, her 9-year-old sister was discovered with moderate injuries. The children were Danielle Johnson's, the same woman at the center of the earlier domestic disturbance. Simultaneously, another disturbing event was unfolding. A car had crashed head-on into a tree. The driver was none other than Danielle Johnson herself. She did not survive the crash, adding another life to the grim tally of the day. 3 lives were tragically lost that day, but the question remained: were these incidents connected? As investigators began to connect the dots, a horrifying picture emerged. A puzzle of terror, painted in broad strokes of violence and tragedy, began to take shape. The pieces were scattered across the city, seemingly unrelated. A man found dead in his apartment, a fatal car crash, 2 children thrown from a moving vehicle. But as the details surfaced, the devastating truth fell into place. The man, identified as Jalen Chaney, was not just any man. He was the long-term boyfriend of Danielle Johnson. The woman who crashed her car into a tree was none other than Johnson herself. The 2 children involved in the freeway incident were her own. A chilling realization dawned. The 3 separate instances were not separate at all. They were the fragments of a horrifying double murder-suicide. Further examination of Johnson's social media accounts revealed a disturbing prediction. In the days leading up to the solar eclipse, Johnson, known online as Ayoka, had posted a series of ominous messages. She referred to the upcoming eclipse as the epitome of spiritual warfare, a time of apocalyptic change, a time to pick a side. Her words, once dismissed as mere astrological speculation, now carried a sinister weight. The side she had chosen was unthinkable. Johnson had not only predicted a violent event, but she had also become the very architect of it. The spiritual warfare she had warned about had manifested in the most tragic way possible: a double murder-suicide. As the threads of this tragic story intertwined, the face of Danielle Johnson, once an influential astrologer, now stared back from the canvas of this gruesome masterpiece. Her prophecy had come to pass, but not in the way her followers had anticipated. In a tragic turn of events, the astrologer who warned of spiritual warfare became the perpetrator of a horrifying act of violence. In the aftermath of this tragedy, many questions remain unanswered. The chilling echo of Danielle Johnson's words, her ominous posts, and the horrific series of events that unfolded leave an unsettling cloud of mystery. The authorities are left to untangle a web of clues, deciphering cryptic messages and delving into the depths of Johnson's beliefs and fears that may have fueled this horrifying chain of events. The surviving child, now in the care of Child Protective Services, carries the heavy burden of a tragic past. A past that is intertwined with a mother's cryptic prophecies and a solar eclipse that was ironically seen as a harbinger of death by Johnson herself. The life of this young child was irrevocably altered on that fateful day, and the emotional trauma will likely linger for years to come. Meanwhile, the community is left in shock, struggling to reconcile the image of a popular astrology influencer with the grim reality of a woman who took the lives of those closest to her. Friends, family, followers, all left grappling with the stark contrast between the online persona and the real-life actions of Danielle Johnson. As the investigation continues, the authorities are trying to piece together the motive behind this tragic event. Was it a moment of madness triggered by fear of the impending eclipse? Or was there a deeper, more complex reason buried within Johnson's psyche? The answers may never fully come to light, but one thing is clear. Danielle Johnson's actions have left a profound and tragic mark. The world of astrology, too, has been shaken. Johnson's interpretation of the celestial event was a sharp deviation from mainstream astrological thought, and her actions have cast a dark shadow over a field that is often seen as a source of guidance and positivity. As we grapple with the shock of this tragedy, we are left to wonder, did astrology play a role in Johnson's actions, or was it merely a dark coincidence? In the end, we are left with one haunting question. Can the belief in the celestial body's influence truly steer the course of our decisions and, in turn, our lives? Danielle Johnson, known in the digital cosmos as Akoya, was a beacon in the astrology community. Yet her faith in the stars led her down a path that ended in an unthinkable tragedy. Could her fixation on the impending solar eclipse have been the catalyst for her horrific actions? Or was it the potent cocktail of fear, obsession, and a distorted perception of reality that drove her to the edge? As we grapple with these questions, we must remember that astrology, like any belief system, can be a powerful tool or a dangerous weapon, depending on the hands that wield it. As we ponder this question, one thing is clear. The story of Danielle Johnson serves as a chilling reminder of how belief, fear, and obsession can lead to unthinkable tragedy.